Hello, everybody. So today we're talking about in UK inflation, which is higher and more stubborn to come down than it is in both Europe and the US. So, Guillaume, what's going on with UK inflation?
Hi, Tom. Yeah, that's right. UK inflation is cooling, but it's still very high, printing at 8.7% annualized in April. So still higher than, what economists and the Bank of England were expecting. So really definitely not falling as quickly as hoped. If you look at Europe and the US, UK inflation is 2% higher than Europe, 3% higher than the US. So there's definitely something going on there.
So, why has UK inflation become this outlier? Why is it more stubborn than in Europe or the US?
Yeah, I think the UK is in a bit of a unique position. It had to deal with soaring energy prices since last year, like Europe, but it also had to deal with a shortage of workers, which caused wage inflation, pretty much like the US. So it's been a bit of a double hit, whereas the other regions haven't been faced with both problems at the same time. It's fair to say also that Brexit probably hasn't helped. There has been a research from the London School of Economics suggesting that, the extra border costs have had a bit of an impact on food inflation over the last 4 years. And we've seen, over the last year, olive oil price up 49%, and my favorite baked beans even up 39% over 1 year, which is definitely concerning.
Definitely concerning if you want to have beans and toast tonight. That's very concerning news. But the problem with inflation seems to be that it means that central bankers start to increase interest rates, and boy, don't we know it. We've seen some pretty significant increases. And for people with mortgages, and particularly variable rate mortgages like myself, that could be really painful financially. Um, so is there any sort of data to show the pain that mortgage people with mortgages have felt more recently? And is there a difference between someone with a mortgage in the UK versus a person with a mortgage in Europe, let's say?
Yeah, I think the rule of thumb is that people in the UK tend to refinance their mortgages more frequently than people in other regions. So they're going to be more, sensitive to increase in interest rates. Obviously, there's been lots of people fixing their mortgages, when interest rates were very low during the pandemic. But in the UK, people typically fix for 2 or 5 years. If you look at Ireland, it's going to be 5 to 10 years. And in France, typically people will go with 20-year mortgages. So this impact of higher interest rates will be felt more quickly in the UK. Apparently there's 1.3 million mortgage holders that are set to refinance their fixed rate deals expiring until the end of this year. So that will have an impact on the cost of living, definitely.
Definitely, yeah. I actually know someone who lives in Paris who managed to fix their mortgage for 20 years at about 1.5%, which is incredible when you think about where interest rates are now. So that's good news for them. In the UK, it's a bit more of a challenge. So, what is the good news then, Guillaume? When will UK inflation start to cool off, and when will the Bank of England start to cut interest rates?
Yes, look, there's some glimmer of hope, Tom. Food and energy inflation is on the way down. As we said, the UK job market has been very tight, but it's starting to loosen up a bit. So effectively, there's signs that all these recent rate rises are starting to bite on the economy. Having said that, at this stage, the Bank of England really is not willing to take chances, and the market is expecting interest rate to go up another percent this year, bringing the interest rates in the UK up to 5.5% by year end. That's even higher than the US, which is remarkable. Much higher than Europe, where the market's expecting interest rate to land at 4%. So definitely more pain to be felt, in the short term. One impact of this that we've seen is the sterling that's been appreciating versus the euro recently, and that's because obviously you get higher interest rates in the UK, which is supporting the currency. Um, but the good news really, Tom, is really going to be for next year. When markets are expecting interest rates to start decreasing in 2024, but not necessarily before then.
Okay, that's great. Thanks so much, Guillaume. So the good news is that if we bide our time and then from 2024, we'll hopefully start to see interest rates come down a bit. Guillaume, thanks for your time today as always, and of course, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll be back again next week with another episode.